thanks everyone for joining us today for the next episode in our Future the Built Environment webinar series. Today we're going to be focused on the future of facilities management and embracing technological disruption. So really excited to get stuck into this. Obviously a great panel here today, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves shortly. Just a quick intro from me. I'm Alex Whiffin, Managing Director and co-founder of Cherry Pick People. We're a specialist talent consultancy which focuses on the real estate and specifically prop tech sectors. That's my passion myself. We advise large and small businesses on their talent process and how to build robust talent procedures and ultimately find, engage and retain the best people. Personally, I'm really passionate about the future of the built environment and particularly how technology can have a positive impact on the sector. So yeah, I'll allow the other panelists to introduce themselves. Catherine, do you want to go first?
Hi, thanks Alex, and good morning everybody. It's great to be here this morning. I'm Catherine Rose, Managing Director and co-founder of Verve Life. Verve Life are a third-party operator, so we operate across single-family housing, co-living and build-to-rent across the entire of the UK, literally anywhere from Exeter to Glasgow. We support our clients at super early stages, so perhaps helping to get planning permission, working on the design phase. So this is quite interesting for today's conversation. That design phase for us helps us bring efficiencies to the building, reducing net operating income, looking to maximise rents, but ensuring a really smooth customer journey. And it might be where we've got big on-site teams, or actually we're running smaller sites where there's no on-site staff. So AI and all of this technology is critical for us. And then we help our clients all the way through kind of mobilisation, lettings, all the way through to property management.
Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. Bronnie, do you want to?
Yeah, hi, good morning everyone, and thanks for having us, Alex. I'm Bronnie Wilson. I work for Equium and I'm the Regional Head of Europe. Equium provides workplace management tools predominantly to landlords. We sort of specialise in the UK in commercial office and large mixed-use estates, King's Cross, Canary Wharf, the British Land portfolio. We provide a whole range of workplace management tools across office, resi, occupier and flex providers. And that includes a full suite of tenant experience tools around, event management, retail marketplace, content, but also a suite of building operational tools, help desk, contractor management, visitor management, license for alteration, all of those essential but not as sexy tools. And then we also do a lot of work around access control and integrating with other property management systems in place.
Fantastic. And last but not least, by no means, Nevo, give us a rundown.
Hi guys, thank you. My name is Nevo. I'm with Aura Air. We are a company that's providing a one-stop shop solution for air quality, from measuring and monitoring and the solution itself, filtering, disinfection, and everything is covered by software, so you can see everything, sense everything, get alerts to be integrated to other smart devices in the building, such as the ventilation, the HVAC system, and creating a more efficient building, save energy, and so on. So that's us.
Fantastic. Well, just before we sort of get stuck into the questions and everything, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and thanks for putting a message in the group. If anyone else is out there, do let us know. Say hi, maybe tell us where you're from. It would be good to see where people are watching from around the world. And also I would just say, please do ask any questions you would like to the panel. I'll do my best to field any questions to everybody and we can sort of get stuck in. So I'd really encourage everyone to ask any questions that they would like to. But let's get stuck into this then. So my first question is, how will advancements in technology such as artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things impact the role of facilities management in the future? Catherine, do you want to kick us off on this one?
Sure, thanks, Alex. So I think the role of facilities management is such wide ranging. So whether it's hard FM or soft FM, but I think facilities management touches so many different people and objects within the journey. So it's, the residents, it's the on-site team, it's obviously the building. And I think the role that AI can play potentially should be absolutely huge. So it should be automating some of the trivial jobs, making the building run more efficiently. If you automate some of those trivial jobs, it means that the FM support can then work on the more challenging side of the job, which is far more rewarding. I think one of the key things is capturing the data. So we're ensuring that our buildings are cleverly managed and we're using that data. There's no point in collecting data for data's sake, but we should be looking much more into the weeds in terms of monitoring. So whether it's energy usage or what spaces are used, how they're used, when are they used, how many people are using them. And I think AI can play absolutely huge part in predicting to save issues before they happen. So we need to start looking forwards with this tech and AI rather than looking backwards. I think just jumping around slightly, but in terms of challenges, at the moment, there is so much technology out there and there are so many options, but they don't all talk to each other. So from an operations perspective, where we're looking at putting intelligent smart building kit into our systems, we need it to be able to work with the on-site teams, our PPM trackers. We need it to work with our residents. We need it to work with our property management and accounting software for raising POs and work orders. And at the moment, there's a huge amount of cost attached to some fantastic technology out there, but it doesn't all talk to each other. And there's quite a lot of overlap, so you can't get the right tech smart enough across the board. So I think there's some challenges, but some huge opportunities in terms of consistency. It's all about consistency. It's all about looking forwards, and it's all about ensuring that data is reliable, but brings you those management efficiencies.
Definitely, and I mean there is a huge amount of tech out there and solutions for different elements of the facilities management sort of process, or to deliver on those needs. But it's quite, there are so many. Perhaps there needs to be a bit of sort of amalgamation of some of those offerings, or an opportunity to talk to one another. But I mean, Bronnie, perhaps you can give us an idea of your thoughts on how technology could do that. Oh, are you on mute, Bronnie? I can't hear you at the moment. Oh no.
No.
Oh, there you are. You're back, and you've gone again. Yeah, I can't hear you. Don't know what's going on there. Nivo, do you want to jump in, and I'll try and sort out Bronnie's technical
I think I
problem
can
there.
give my perspective when I share my experience from my field, the air. And I think that the air is the hidden part of the building. That's something which you cannot see, but it affects so many other parts of your life. First, health. And security and health. That's something that we all know after the pandemic era, that it kept people outside of buildings and kept them home. And today we want to attract more and more people back to the offices, so we need to tackle this side. Wellness, it's something which is different from health, and we want to create better environments for people to be in better environment. Today we build higher buildings with more and more layers, more and more floors, and in those kind of systems you cannot open windows. And whenever you have so many people concentrated in one place, you must build a place that putting the people on the center, and then build the environment around them and giving them good place to be. They are spending so many time in those environments. You must build good environments for them to be in, otherwise they want to be outside. And that today people in those kind of buildings just want to stay home because they don't feel good enough in those buildings. It can be due to the poor ventilation and so on. And third part is about efficiency. We want to build better environments, which would be cost effective, and to reduce the costs and still keep it very good environments. And maybe we can touch on afterwards at all the emergence of the green buildings. But all those points that I just mentioned must have technology, and in the data-driven environment, we need to assess everything, to monitor everything, and to get everything on one screen. You're very right, Catherine, because if we are managing too much platforms, so we're going to lose our hands in those environments. So we need to be concentrated in one place, getting all the data to that place, and by that the FM can be more aware and to offer better benefits to their tenants and to attract better organizations to sit in those buildings.
Cool. I'm just trying to sort out Bronnie's issue here. Then can you hear? We can't hear you at the moment, can we? That is really strange, as everything was working fine. I think, yeah, perhaps if you leave the call, Bronnie, and just jump back on, we'll see if we can get you back in.
It's a shame it worked perfectly well 10 minutes before everybody joined. It's typical, isn't it? Good old technology.
It is typical. There you go. Benefit the trials and tribulations of technology. Let me just see.
Exactly. If only we had Bronnie as a bot.
Go ahead then, Bronnie. Can we hear you now?
No.
No. What's going on?
Try joining on your mobile, maybe. Could that work?
On your laptop rather than. Okay, cool. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so I will. There we go. Well, yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about potential, or you mentioned some opportunities that earlier, Catherine. If you want to maybe expand on that, what are your thoughts on?
I think the opportunities, I think not just in this current climate, but I think costs, there's an opportunity for cost saving, that AI could play a huge role in that. So whether it's a FM operative not having to visit an apartment and not needing to do a call out just by using a technology, I think it is that future proofing and that preventing an issue before it's happened. I think there's huge cost savings. I think there's opportunities around life cycle, looking at if you take plant and equipment. So what's the use of that fan or that motor? How often is it being used? Does it need to be changed yet? Can we get a little bit more life out of that? The same with things like water usage and electricity. It's, it is that smart tech. I'm currently sat in a hotel room, but I know when I take my key out of the lock, the lights will turn off, the aircon will go off. It's not sat running. So are there other ways that we can think about future proofing to ensure that there are opportunities? So I think, as I said, efficiencies, costs, I think a better service. I think through AI, there's the opportunity to provide better services and more rewarding for the people that work in FM. If you've got some of those repetitive tasks, it can be a pretty mundane job. And if we can use some AI or some other technology to reduce some of that, it will make for a more interesting and rewarding role. I think it's the smarter buildings. I think the opportunities are there. I think ESG is going to play a big part as an opportunity. I think that's only going to become under more scrutiny. And I think in terms of other opportunities, Nevo mentioned something just before everybody joined. We were talking about certification. I think there's an opportunity to get standardization in as well. I think as an industry, we are lacking any sort of standardization and what good looks like. I know there is, Fit well. I always get the name of some of the certification confused, but we don't have a gold, bronze, platinum standard, but all buildings aren't operating in the same way across co-living, BTR, or single family housing. So how can we get the data and look good? And I think that's a huge opportunity that we actually can all sign up to the same certification, and then you've got consistency across the board.
Maybe I can add that maybe I can share from my experience today. We know that HVAC system, the ventilation and cooling and heating, is consuming around 40 up to 70% of the energy in the building. It's a lot of energy if you're looking forward for the years that the building exists. And if you want to think about, somebody wrote here that you need to be accurate, you need to have accurate data and relevant data. So definitely you need to have it 24/7. You have to have it to have the data which is accurate, coming from the field itself, and then you can by only tackling or optimizing one thing, you can save so much money. For instance, if you creating efficiency in the systems of the ventilation, and you don't just ventilate or bring air from outside. And by the way, I can say that you don't know what the situation with regard to the air from the outside. You just ventilate the environment and bring air from outside. Maybe it's pollutant, but let's put it aside. If you don't do it just by a hunch, and you do it by looking at the data and trying to tackle those peaks of CO2 and other materials that you want to evacuate from the environment. So you're bringing less air from outside. You need to treat it, heat and cool it less times, or less in less fierce, and then you can save so much money and energy that goes to the carbon footprint and so on. So by investing on some amount of money on better systems or better tools to get efficiency in those bigger systems, you can save a lot of money down the road. And today we're thinking of how to integrate or develop those other systems for better ventilation, filtration, and so on, that going to disrupt that market and maybe change those bigger systems for ventilation and do it only according to the measurements. That's something we need to consider. And then it's all connected to those green building certification, LEED, WELL, and all those certifications that entrepreneurs are eager today to build according to, because it attracts better audience. And there are organizations, some of them are reporting ESG, that are sitting only in those kind of buildings. And if you want to attract them, and they are paying very good. So if you want to attract them, you need to retrofit and build better buildings according to those kind of certifications.
Well, there's definitely a big push to that, and that is obviously it's driving a lot of tech adoption, as not just certificate, well, as regulations come in, and then we need certification to measure that or prove that. Bronnie, do we have you? Can we hear you?
Yay!
Yay! So
thank you,
great.
Kath, for that suggestion to try on my phone.
Yeah, fantastic, well done. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about opportunities there. I mean, from your point of view, what do you see as the potential opportunities available to sort of occupiers, owners, wider society of technical adoption within facilities management?
Yeah, I mean, so many from our perspective. Data, as you mentioned, Catherine, and all of the stuff around hitting ESG targets that it is just not going to out AI and IoT. I think it's really interesting. McKinsey have recently they were saying that 50% of employees' time could be saved by AI and existing technology, and that's now moved up to 60 to 70% based on recent advancements in AI. And I think if we consider that we're really at the start of this, and we look at how manual a lot of the work in facilities management still is, and the prevalence of spreadsheets for all manner of property management, then I think it's not unrealistic to expect that we can have even greater time savings from that by really leveraging technology as it comes to market. Completely unrelated to property, but when you look at the writer's strike in Hollywood and you look at how quickly that industry got disrupted by AI, I think it's there's obviously challenges, but there's also huge opportunities, and I don't think anyone in facilities management should be worried about their job, because that job has just increased complexity and workload. So we really need to be looking at where we can find those efficiencies and automations. I think the areas that we're seeing a lot of change in, and I think is really going to accelerate, is of course around data-driven decision making. leveraging the data that's available in what is currently, a huge array of disparate systems. And we need to be able to pull that in and analyze that data to get real operational efficiency. Predictive maintenance, which is already here, of course, but it's just getting better and better, and adoption is increasing. And it's now essential for, optimizing buildings and getting to net zero. So exciting to see how that's continuing to evolve. Obviously, energy efficiency, sustainability, as it's been talked about, we're just not going to get there if we're not using AI and IoT and all of the technologies that are available. It's just not going to be possible. And then around space, we're seeing a lot of really cool tech coming out that's helping landlords to adjust to this shift that we're seeing in how occupiers are consuming space, and the need to optimize space allocation, identify underutilization, better design of fit outs. And I think pre-pandemic, we probably saw this as, a tenant's responsibility, your staff, your space, figure it out. But we've got challenges around occupancy, and if we want to address that, it needs to be collaborative with the tenant, right? We need to be working together on how we can allow them to flex on days when everybody's in the office, or have shared spaces that can be used for one-off events, etc. But I think it's hugely exciting. There's no part of our business that we're not currently looking at how our AI can benefit.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunity there. We've had a fair few questions come in as well, which I'd like to put a couple to you guys. We've got one here from Taz. Taz, he said, quick question, panel. While technology offers numerous benefits, how do you recommend striking the right balance between human expertise and technological solutions in facilities management? Who would like to tackle that one? Any thoughts on that in particular?
I mean, it has to be both, right? At the moment, I think, a lot of the tech we're looking at is capable of heavy lifting, but you still need humans to do a part of it. And particularly in the area that I'm in around occupier experience, there's fantastic technology, ours included, that can help you do that, but you still need relationships. You still need to connect with occupiers. You still need to be making decisions. So, I think it has to be both, but we don't have to. Nobody has the capacity to do all of the heavy lifting in the administration anymore that tech can do for us.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, I suppose it's, you talk about AI, taking up, saving 60 to 70% of employees' time. But, it ultimately gives them the opportunity to be far more productive and focusing on things that are potentially more important than filling out a spreadsheet or whatever that might be. So, I think we should see it as the opportunity to be more productive rather than losing a job, for example.
There's already evidence of where that text works. I know fixed flow has been around for a long time, but the self-help that you can put into the fixed flow when you build the repairs and maintenance, for those that aren't aware of fixed flow, you can log all maintenance issues on there, but you can put self-help in. So, and I think that reduces call outs by something like 18 to 20%. So have you, my lights aren't working, well, have you checked the fuse board? We're not expecting our residents to be engineers by any stretch of the imagination, but there are some basic checks and balances we can do along the way. And I think there's other technologies such as the leak detection that really helped, but you're still going to physically need somebody to go and mend it, even if the valve can be automatically shut down. And I do think that, people still like to speak to people. So somebody might come and log something on reception verbally, but we'd still need to track it in a system somewhere. And I know we're here to talk about facilities management, but where we use AI on the legal side of things, we can put in you can book directly online, do a virtual tour, but if you don't hit that affordability matrix, we wouldn't allow you to have a virtual tour or book a viewing because we're wasting everybody's time. So I think if we can start to put more technology in place along those lines, where we're not time wasting for our residents or our teams or our contractors, that's only going to make for a better solution and journey and experience for everybody.
I want to make two points. First, it's like whenever we're using ChatGPT or Midjourney, writers using ChatGPT or UX designers using Midjourney, it can help you save time, being more efficient and addressing more and more points in your day-to-day job. So that's great. And more than that, I think that technology can build up or help to develop models of collaboration that we haven't done it before. Imagine that the FM, the entrepreneurs, the HR persons, the architects, sometimes they share the same interests whenever we address the building. They all want to perform, or they all want to prepare a better building. They all want to attract better persons. They all want to attract the people inside the building, and they want to the HR want to help the workers to be in a more well-being adjusted environment. And we know that a lot of things are causing people to or harming their cognitive situation and to work in less efficient way. So they all sharing the same interests, and sometimes we can build models of collaboration that improve everybody's day-to-day job. For instance, I can speak about again the air. So let's imagine that the entrepreneur wants to maybe run a certificate, some kind of green building certificate. So they need the measurements, and the HR wants the measurement also to analyze the environment, the working environment, to see if they have any problems on premises, in order to see what's harming the cognitive situation and the efficiency of the workers. So we can collaborate, maybe share the costs in order to do the same, to address the same points and to improve everybody's environment. That things I'm not sure that they're doing enough. And today with technology, and we can share data, we can share the costs, we can share the models, or to build new models for working in order to help everybody.
Yeah, I saw, in terms of the well-being side of things, I did see quite a bit of a cool bit of tech when I went to the Pi Labs event a few months back, called Untap, which was underneath the buildings and monitoring sort of illnesses. What's the word? But it's like a little laboratory that sat under the buildings. And it could tell how much influenza was in the building from people going to toilet. And then, you could go, well, you've got a high level here, you need to turn on your aircon, or, your air cleaning facilities, or whatever it might be. But I just thought that was fascinating that they could do that type of thing and understand that.
Today,
I suppose post-COVID world, it's quite relevant.
Yeah, today we can think of a building as a living organism, and we need to feed these organisms, and we need to evacuate all those byproducts that it provides in the process that we can see inside the building, and we need to make it breathe better air and to drink better water. And this is a living organism. We need to, and it has maybe some kind of a collaboration or connections it can do with other buildings, and to perform better, share the experience, share the data, and to be more accurate. We know today that air in some environments in the same manner. If you look at offices, there's a pattern of behavior. If you look at schools, there's a pattern. If you look at hospitals, there's a pattern. And we can, by AI or analyzing this data, we can all know how to perform better. And there's effect of the outdoor environment on the indoor environment. And if you calculate those rates of effect, we can know better what's the patterns of the peaks we need to tackle, what the times that we need to be that have more hazards to our employees and people and the users of the facilities, and so on. So there's much data to share with everybody else in order to do better job.
Yeah, and sort of there's a good question here, actually, moving the conversation along, from Chris Coleman Brown. Technology has evolved to a point of significance now and will continually improve. I'm keen to know the panel's view on why adoption and disruption is taking the time it is compared to other industries, which I think is an interesting point. Why is it taking so long within real estate and facilities management specifically for this to happen?
I think it is taking so long because we have a long planning process, a long build process. So the buildings are slow to come out of the ground, and the technology is changing at a pace. So we're now retrofitting in brand new buildings. We've got repurposing of, office to resi conversions, and how can we put this technology into an existing infrastructure and frame. But I do think the problem we've got is we're looking backwards and trying to put forward technology in, because it's such a lag to get something out the ground, and I think we just need to look forward, and that will help us move a lot quicker, hopefully, because I agree it's just taking so long to get the technology in place. I think it's an appetite as well. I think we're likely to see a swing, I think, from an investor and funder perspective, where they will only invest in buildings which have got technology, which are going to bring them cost efficiencies, which are going to not tick the box on ESG, but I think that is going to be a swing to be more of a focus, and I think that is going to drive change through FM, AI, the Internet of Things. I can see that really accelerating it, because I think at some point, we're moving to carbon zero, net zero. All of this is going to be driven by the envelope and the building and the running of the building, and that ties all the way back to facilities management. And facilities management, I said at the beginning of the session, touches so many, it means so much. It's not just a maintenance operative. So I think we need to look at what FM means, where it touches, the data that we need. I think somebody's put in the chat that data is only good if it's accurate and is used properly. So I'm not sure that answered the question after all that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think there's definitely there's a point around sort of sharing of data as well between organisations. Real estate seems to still be very closed network. It's not a culture of sharing. What do you think, Bronnie, on this point?
Great question, Chris, because we come from the same perspective on this. I think and I agree with everything you said, we get to the point to engage technology to solve a problem, that process is really long, unnecessarily sometimes. And I think, there's not always a process around selecting technology. And we often find we're in a procurement process that would be suitable for a cleaning contract or HVAC maintenance, and it is just not designed around selecting technology. And I think the process is often, complete this spreadsheet and tick the boxes that you can deliver on, and then give us a 14-minute front-end presentation on your platform. And we're then going to go away and make a decision. And from the tech side, I would say you do not have enough information. And I think, people often know they don't have enough decision, but there isn't the right process for doing a full due diligence on these platforms and understanding. A tick box doesn't really tell you if they're solving the problems that you need to solve and how well they're going to integrate with the other systems that you use. So I don't think it needs to be longer, but it needs to be a different process for procurement. And I also think there's real hesitancy in diving in and selecting technology around this idea that we future-proof. And that's a great way to approach a lot of things, but we also have to be realistic about how quickly technology is moving, and that maybe the system that meets your needs now and for the next 2 years won't be the same system, and you may have to swap, you may need to evolve, you may need to integrate with other things. But I think that hesitancy is stopping a lot of landlords and property teams from
making the transition. Yeah, go on, Levi.
Yeah, so we spoke earlier about 3 types of buildings. The buildings that already exists, and some of them are really old, and we need to implement new technology, but it's hard to just retrofit those kind of technologies in old brick and mortar and walls. It's harder process. We can do that, but it's not a part of the system. There are buildings that now are being built, and already they build the economic situation and the funds, and sometimes you can add a layer of technology, but if it's not a part of the structure, so it's something that we need to address. We need to add it as a different layer. And there's the new buildings that now are being drafted, and I believe that you can find more technology implemented in the walls itself, in the process of the designing of the building. So, and it's also connected maybe it's a bit a traditional industry. So today, if you can find the new entrepreneurs and the newer firms, so they all think about innovation and to improve themselves and to be better. And it's all connected to the ROI. So sometimes technology, you don't see the ROI as a straightforward thing. You don't see it around the corner. And it's more something which you can see in the following years or so. And then whenever you don't see the direct ROI, it's harder to change mindsets. If you can show in the following months, how do you get back the money, and you save them by saving in other streams, but then you can maybe earn money from the technologies. That's first. But if you need to think about longer processes, think about, I don't know, employees' health and lowering or decrease the sick days. That's something which is you can only see in a long process of life cycle, and then it's harder to implement or to spend money on those technologies. But I think that mindset is being changed today, and you see more and more people that are data-driven and innovation-driven, and then they build those environments in longer processes, and then they are more open to implement new technologies, even if it costs money, because they see the future.
Yeah, we've got a question from James here, which sort of maybe ties in with that. He was replying to a comment by Andy, but he says he talks about the potential talent gap. So, if you're looking for people with an innovative mindset, training the talent of the future specifically in this space. Question for the panel: does the talent of the future need or what does the talent of the future and the upskilling training look like for these people? I suppose where are the talent gaps we need to address for people managing the technology within facilities management?
Yeah, 100%. I think that the learning pathways that exist data for the change and are about to see in property. So I think there's a huge need to upskill and to make sure that we're bringing new people into the industry with the right knowledge. But I also think that's not going to happen overnight, and people need to get really comfortable with engaging consultants and specialists in areas that there is a skills gap, and being really cognizant that we do have a skills gap in this area. Are we going to hire? Are we going to use a consultant, or are we going to upskill? But not just kind of bumbling along, feeling like we've all got to be experts at everything that we're just not.
I think it's really hard with facilities management as well, because we're expecting people to be quite technically knowledge, hands-on. So we know that the hands-on trade is something that I think is probably falling out of popularity with some of the school leavers that are coming through. So we're expecting our engineers to be great at paperwork, which actually, if they're great with their hands, they might not be so great with their paperwork. We're expecting now to be experts on technology and AI and all things on screen. So I think the skill set is going to change as the generations change. And I think it comes back to training. It comes back to what is that technology? What is the expectations? And I think the current market for finding great people who want to come into facilities is really, really tough. We're struggling on some of our sites now where we're looking to employ full-time maintenance operatives where we wouldn't necessarily, because of the fire safety bill, checking fire doors. That's not a particularly rewarding job, but it's now a full-time job. And so could AI and technology help with some of that? I think we're going to have huge challenges in the future in terms of the desire to come in. This isn't a job you can do for working from home necessarily either. Buildings need people to be in the buildings to manage them and make sure they're health and safety and compliant. So I think we have got, technology might help with some of that, but I think we are going to have challenges in the industry with recruitment in this area. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as...
Not if we're working with Alex, though.
No, to be honest, it's 100% true. The skills gaps are huge, and it's been very challenging to find good people for a long time. And then we had COVID, where we were locked down for a long time, and you then have a gap I really want someone with a couple of years experience, or or some even 3 years experience. Well, they don't exist because they weren't being trained at that point. You can have, there's people with a year who've just started out. There's people who are 5 years, sort of thing. And so that COVID time has also had a big impact on the workforce. So yeah, it's interesting how that develops, and understanding, I suppose, also understanding the people that are coming into the industry. I suppose as we get more people who are digital natives and are used to apps and technology in their everyday life, everything has an app. I don't want to. Where is the app? Is almost what people say. So maybe with time, you just get people who are more attuned to this way of the world and more naturally or more intrinsically pick up new technology. But we'll see how that pans out.
Also about exposure and education, because whenever you implement new technology in a building and then it echoes to the world, and other people are exposed to it and see how does it affect the industry, or how does it give benefits to the environment, and then they want to implement it by themselves, either if it's coming from the owners of the buildings, or it's coming from the FM itself. So whenever you're exposed to new technology and you see that it improves your life, improves your work, improves the benefits that you can give to your clients, so that's something which is very important in order to expand or to implement new devices. And that's why we're working very hard on building use cases and spread them to the world and showing the abilities and so on. It's a long process.
Yeah. It seems to take time for real estate to pick up on these opportunities. They see the cost rather than the saving or the ultimate reward for it. But and it seems to me that legislation is the biggest force in technical adoption, or the real estate industry as a whole needs to be pushed. Like COVID made people aware of flexible working, and we had to manage it somehow. So we need our tech now. And ESG is the next thing that's sort of pushing that narrative. A good question related to this actually was, with the rise of remote working and flexible schedules, how does facilities management need to adapt to support a more agile workforce? I mean, this is a hot topic at the moment. They're talking about people coming back to the office and that sort of stuff. And I know, Bronnie, we've talked about this before. So what are your thoughts on this particular topic?
A good one. Look, I think, the future is definitely being, and is that my sound?
It's cut out a little bit there, yeah.
Let's see if I by 2030, we're going to see sort of 30 to 40% of commercial office space as flex. So we just need to get better at managing it. And what we're seeing is a real shift from the old days of, these are the tools that the property management team used to run the building, and these are the tools that the occupiers use to run their space. And now we're seeing a lot of crossover of that. We've got visitor management systems, occupiers are using those for their own space, meeting rooms, desk bookings, having help desk systems that can route requests through to the workplace manager first, and they can make decisions about whether that's an internal demised issue and they put it through their own contractors, or whether they put that through and funnel it through to the building management team. So I think there's a huge amount that can be done to create more flexibility and to allow occupiers then to start scaling their down, and to be able to move into turnkey space that already has all of those services, that you've got your access control to their space, visitor management, the help desk, contractor management, that all of that is built in and ready for them to use within that space. So the ease then of increasing NLA or decreasing becomes a lot less arduous. And I think, as I said before, this is a real partnership between landlords and occupiers to say, we understand you have this and that you don't have the same number of people working in the building on a Friday as you do on a Tuesday. So how do we help you flex your space to those needs? How do we create communal spaces that you can use on those high capacity days? Yeah, and I think it's just helping landlords to create more frictionless experiences for the hybrid workforce.
And if I can add, I think that the
Go ahead,
hybrid
Nivo, definitely.
model of work is bringing huge opportunities in terms of cost effectiveness, because whenever you are aware, we're going back to the awareness and the data, and if you're aware of the situation in your facility, you can just work by yourself in a hybrid model, and then not to do the day-by-day job that cost money in ordinary process, but to break it to the right places that the people are concentrated in. We can think about the cleaning team. We can think about the ventilation systems. We can think about the HVAC systems. All that, it costs money. And if you can break it and use those machines or those systems only in the places where the need is, so you can save money on the places that you don't need to use those systems. And that's a huge opportunity for saving money and creating better environments.
I think the hybrid home working is really interesting, especially from, listening to what Bronnie was saying in the office world. My world's the residential world. So actually now, with more people working from home during the week, it means actually the maintenance team or the FM team or the building manager can go into that flat on a Tuesday, whereas normally they wouldn't have been able to gain access Monday to Friday because there's nobody ever at home. So I think that does allow for a bit more flexible working for the on-site teams to work around, the knowing that people are going to be at home on a Friday. So actually, let's schedule all of our routine visits for a Friday. Let's make sure we're doing, any whatever testing we need to do in the apartments around when people are now at home or working from home. So I think it has flipped the other way, allowing for the teams to have more flexible working hours. Fundamentally, I think if you're involved in property management, you need to be on site though, whether there's technology in place or not. It goes back to that human interaction point. We can't do it all remotely. You do need to, good customer service still needs to take place face to face.
Yeah, so I suppose you may be seeing more, stress on the facilities within the residential buildings now that that people are at home. There are more people at home than there are in the office.
That was definitely a COVID thing. There was a lack of patience for any small issue because that was all they were seeing 24/7. And I think with the way that the buildings have evolved now, it's also workspace. So it isn't just their home; it's somewhere where they might have a co-work space. So that work environment for them while they're in their building at home needs to be managed just efficiently as it would be if they were in a true office environment. So I think there are much more challenges and pressure on those teams to deliver. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting how that is panning out and what's happening with that. So just another question here. We were talking about how, well, we maybe mentioned this before, but we can elaborate. Facilities management can contribute to creating sort of a healthier, more productive work environments to help entice and retain top talent in the sector. So, obviously, Nivo, your specialization is the air quality and that type of thing. But so maybe you can touch on this one first and how maybe it specifically relates to the workforce.
Of course, I think that today in best organizations, and whenever they want to show the benefits that they bring to their employees, that's the things that people are seeing. And we know that in order to implement the DNA of the organization on the workers, it's essential to be together in the same place. And if you want to attract people back, and maybe Catherine spoke about it, and the residential place become the environment of working also. And it's very, people, we say, ate the cake. They had that's very convenient model for them, but you want to attract them back to the office. So part of our job or the job of the organization, the management, the HR, is preparing better environments which are convenient to be in. And we know today in those kind of the new buildings, which you cannot open a window, people are feeling suffocated. They feeling that headaches. They have headaches. They have all those situations with regard to the sick building syndrome. And if we want to attract the people, that's the first thing we need to tackle or to address, to bring them good environment, which would they would be happy to stay in, and they would feel good whenever they stay in. And I'm not talking about all the implementation on the cognitive situation of people. There are many researches regarding the air environment or the air situation and the cognitive, the water that you have in the building, and the easiness of getting into the building, and happiness of employees feeling well-being in well-being environment, feeling good. It's a method of first attracting better workforce. That's something which we are looking forward to doing those days. It's very hard to find good working force. That's first. And second, to provide them good environments to do their job, and not to focus on other side things such as how do they feel, headaches, and they want to leave early to go home and so on.
It might be.
Sorry, Alex, I was just going to add that I think actually with the buildings that we're certainly managing across London and out in the regions with the co-working space, engineers' offices are no longer in the basements. They're not in a windowless space in a dank dungeon. Yeah. So, and actually we're encouraging our engineers to be working out the co-working space. They're building relationship then with the residents who can come up to them and say, actually, I've got a problem in my apartment, or I've noticed light in the staircase. So actually just in terms of that environment where some of these buildings have got great facilities, the on-site team are embracing that, and they're not sat in back offices. They're actually engaging with the residents, and I think that works for a better working environment for the teams. They've got the ability to work in a quiet workspace, or up on the rooftop, or in the residents' lounge, and I think that does make for a much nicer work environment than a really horrible office in the basement somewhere.
Yeah, and you're sure to retain people for longer with that type of the environment is really important. And I mean, on a wider point related to this as well, it's sort of like the return to office. And there's been some, I mentioned earlier, there's been some stuff in the press recently of Zoom, for example, saying everyone has to go back to the office at a certain amount of times and that sort of stuff. So there definitely seems to be a shift that way. But it definitely, to encourage people to get back into the offices and in the commercial space, the service, it seems like there's a race for quality, or there's the facilities and the services provided to the employees, and I'd be interested to know if it's the same within the residential space and like competing for those tenants. But there's a race to quality ultimately, and interesting to see how that transpires and how that develops. I mean, what do you think on that?
If I may to address one point of what Catherine said, I think that it's a challenge to better understand whether or not the places that we're staying here are in good shape. I mean, you spoke about basements, but sometimes the higher floors are suffering from bad or poor air ventilation.
Yeah,
so that's why, so that's why the measurements and getting a full picture, real-time full picture with regard to the environment is important, because you think that you're sitting in the perfect environment in your 30th floor, but you don't know that the ventilation system bringing air from outside, which is, I don't know, from the lower floors, and then you're just getting all the dust from the construction site that just outside. So with all those systems of getting real-time data, we can not just by a hunch think that we are sitting in good environments which are fitted to be well-being environment, but also know that we are sitting in such environments. And sometimes those traditional methods of doing things, and I can speak again about the ventilation, are not enough in order to do that job. And we need to think about different technology in order to provide better environments. Maybe we do not need to bring outside air because it's coming from the autostrade, but we need to filter the air that inside the environment in order to provide the better airflow for our employees. That's one maybe point to think of.
Fair enough. So one other sort of question maybe before we wrap up was the sort of opportunities for facilities management to contribute to a circular economy and promote sustainable practices such as waste reduction and resource efficiency. And I just sort of wonder that ties in a little bit with what Jimmy was asking earlier about where is it now? I can't find the comment, but he was mentioning about the sort of wider implication of transit and things like that within the responsibility of the building and the contribution to the carbon footprint. But Bronnie, what do you think about the sort of contribution that facilities management can make to the circular economy and promoting sustainable practices?
Not my area of expertise, but can we just stop or move away from stripping fit outs all the way back to base, leasing those floors and then having tenants rebuild an entirely new fit out and then go through that whole cycle again and rip it out? When you look at that and you look at some of the redevelopment works, you can't help see the wastage. So that's my, but ask for one. Let's go back to base.
Fair enough. Well, I think we're pretty much up for time now. So I'll say thanks very much for everyone for joining me today, as a panelist especially, and we've had a great number of guests on, and thanks for everybody's contribution and questions and everything else.
One thing before you're closing this session, that of course I'm speaking on behalf of the panels, maybe, but I think that we all are willing, if you have any questions, to elaborate or take it offline and to speak offline with each one of you. You have great questions, so thank you very much. And if you want to speak afterwards, of course, I'm open to do that, and I'm sure that my colleagues are feeling the same.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I didn't get a chance to ask all the questions, so I do apologise for those people that I didn't manage to pick up on. But yeah, as Nevo said, I'm sure you can connect to everybody online and ask questions directly. But again, thanks everybody for joining us, and panelists especially. Thank you for coming today.
thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.